Today, we are diving deep into one of the most pivotal moments in the entire epic of the Mahabharata. It's a story that all hinges on a single secret, a choice that was made out of fear, and a son whose entire destiny was shaped by a mother he would never even know.
And that really brings us to the core question of this story. What if you were given a gift of unimaginable power, something truly incredible, only to have it completely upend your life in a single instant? Well, that is exactly what happened to a very young princess.
Our story kicks off with Kunti, a young princess who is known for her incredible sense of duty and devotion. For an entire year, she poured everything she had into serving a powerful and wise sage, showing him just unwavering respect and care.
Now, as you can imagine, the sage was just blown away by her selfless service, so he decided to reward her. But listen, this wasn't just any old reward. This was a boon, a divine gift that would put an absolutely staggering amount of power right into her hands.
And what was this gift? It was truly mind-blowing. The sage taught her a secret, sacred mantra, a chant. With these words, she could call upon any god she chose, and that god would be compelled. They would have no choice but to grant her a son. And not just any son. A son who would be born with all the divine powers and qualities of his celestial father.
So, you have this young, curious princess, and she's suddenly holding this unimaginable power in her hands. What do you think she does? Well, she does exactly what you or I might do. She decides to, test it out.
One morning, she's feeling this mix of awe and maybe just a little bit of youthful doubt. You can almost hear her thinking, does this thing really work? So she looks up at the brilliant rising sun. And in that one fleeting moment of pure curiosity, she recites the sacred words, calling upon the mighty sun god Surya. Now, she probably thought nothing would happen, right? It was just a little secret test, no harm done. But the power she was playing with was absolute. And her simple, curious act, well, it had immediate and, frankly, terrifying consequences.
In a flash of light so bright it was blinding, Surya, the sun god himself, stood before her. In that instant, the reality of her power just came crashing down on her. She was terrified. She immediately starts begging him to leave, pleading that it was just a silly, childish mistake. But it was far, far too late for that.
And this is where the real conflict kicks in. On one side, you have Kunti's desperate, fearful plea. She's just a kid who made a mistake. But on the other side, you have Surya's divine decree. He explains to her that once the mantra is spoken, he is bound by its power. He literally cannot go back without fulfilling his duty. The mantra, he says, cannot be allowed to fail. Now, seeing her absolute terror, Surya does offer her one bit of reassurance. He tells her that, yes, she must bear his son, but he promises to use his divine power to make sure her maidenhood is magically and instantly restored right after the birth. This would at least protect her from some of the social ruin she was so afraid of. And so, from this fateful and pretty intense union, a child was born. And let me tell you, this child was something else. He was truly more God than he was mortal.
This was absolutely no ordinary baby. He was born with the actual brilliant radiance of his father, the sun. Even crazier, he was born with a kavacha, a natural coat of golden armor that was fused to his skin, making him totally invulnerable. And, as if that wasn't enough, he also had divine golden earrings, or kundalas, attached to his ears. From his very first breath, he was a warrior born of a god.
But for Kunti, holding this miraculous, glowing child wasn't a moment of joy. For her, it was a moment of pure, absolute terror. See, as an unmarried princess, having a child was just an unthinkable scandal. In that moment, her fear just swallowed everything else. Fear for her reputation, fear for her entire family's honor, fear for her future. She felt like she only had one choice, and it was the most heartbreaking choice a mother could ever make.
So with a completely shattered heart, she gently places her beautiful, radiant son into a little woven basket. She takes him to the river, and with one last look and a desperate prayer for his safety, she pushes the basket into the current, watching her firstborn son just float away.
But then fate steps in. The basket is found further down the river by a kind man named Arirata, who just so happens to be a royal charioteer. He and his wife had no children of their own, and they saw this incredible baby as a gift from the gods. They took him in, they named him Karna, and they raised him as their own son, with absolutely no idea of his divine heritage.
And what about Kunti? Well, her life moved on. She buried that secret so deep inside herself. She went on to marry King Pandu. She became the great queen of Hastinapura. And she even used that same powerful mantra again to have other sons who would grow up to be legends themselves. But that first son, he remained a painful, hidden secret.
And that leaves us with this huge lingering question. What happens to this boy, Karna? A child born with the power of a literal god, but living with the social status of a simple charioteer's son, all while being completely in the dark about who he truly is. Well, as you can probably guess, his story is only just beginning.